Now all of a sudden,
We're ready.
Hi. Sign in front of somebody's house and they like it, and they want it done a certain way, so now I'm holding it what they want.
Good evening. I'd like to call the June meeting of the Board of Police Commission to order. I'd like to start out with the Pledge of Allegiance. Pledge of allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Lawrence, welcome, Selectman Goldberg, liaison. Thank you very much for joining us today. Is there a motion to accept the May minutes as written?
Motion to accept May 8th, 25 as written. Any comments, exceptions?
I did.
Okay. Okay.
On page 2, the first paragraph, first two lines, what I stated was that 2010 versus now, the state of Connecticut is less robust with personnel, not more robust. That's why we were not able to get them to be so gracious in affording us traffic studies currently.
That's a good correction, thank you.
Does change the meaning of that sentence. Any other edits, comments?
Motion to accept.
As written, as it changed.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Public comments. Any public comments, please? You can identify just your name and your location, please.
Bob Cipriano, 148 Horse Pond Road in Madison. I'd like to commend the chief in facilitating the signs up on Horse Pond, and we have no objective data about speeding, just I'm eyeballing and they're still speeding, but that's a common occurrence. But I'm wondering if to get some objective information and data so we could have data-informed decisions, if the radar could go up. That way we could then count the cars, how many are speeding, and that I think might mitigate some of the traffic. I don't know what the data says nationally or here in town, but I think that logically would help. Also, it's still a problem, but again I acknowledge it and thank the chiefs and you people for moving on in a proactive way. And it's certainly good to see more of your officers on there. So again, thank you.
Mr. Brown, thank you. Chief, is there any way we can effectively monitor, get some data? I know that's a tough road in terms of where do you locate a car?
I think if and when we add the additional speed signs, and if we use the caliber of the sign that I have on Route 1 by Donahue's, by Cohen Bagel, that does compliance and traffic counts.
So that's a
The officer sitting there with a radar, obviously we're going to count, but that's stationary. We also, we rotate the, now that school is out, 2 SROs will be returning to the road to enhance patrol. And so I'll be able to utilize them with select speed enforcement. That area is one of them that they rotate around. In addition to that, we've utilized them in the regional traffic team with other areas such as Open Hill. And believe it or not, by Stop and Shop, that crosswalk that goes to Route 1, we've had them enforcing people because people just drive right through that where the stop signs are. Yeah. So we rotate them around town. People send us letters. I have 2 more today requesting enforcement on certain areas. We do the best we can with the resources we have. But that's an area that is earmarked for one of the speed signs. We have a grant in process, but a dozen signs, right, or 10.
Yeah.
A dozen of the signs. So hopefully, because they're expensive, when you're all said and done, and using the cloud for the data. It's, talking like 6,000 change a sign, which is probably a small amount considering we could slow down traffic in that area. That is earmarked to happen.
I mean, data should inform our decisions. So we would need the data to make those quality, objective decisions. I mean, subjectively, me watching cars, hey, they're all speeding, it's me.
It's yes, it's, which you're, somebody's standing on the road walking and a car goes by them. If it's a louder vehicle or a bike, if the bike is doing 100 miles an hour, it may be speeding, but it's the impression from their point of view. Somebody on their porch, us and policing, we look at it a little different.
Good. We also have our motorcycle out on patrol around town, and that's very visible, and hopefully will be more of a deterrent as well.
Any other comments? Yes.
Dennis Cohen, 138 Horse Pond. I was here before the meeting with Bob and Ray. I just want to echo Bob and Ray's comments, and I do appreciate the effort. Myself, my wife appreciate the effort with the signs. That's been significant. We desperately need that radar sign. Horse Pond Road is so dangerous. I just don't know how to impress it upon you, but yesterday, like if you've been out, if you just come to my house and go on a bike ride, you might sell your bike after that ride. It's crazy riding around Madison on a bicycle, and like it is trying to walk on our street. We were talking earlier today, you guys went out on a walk and then you curtailed it after like a house or two and went back, right? Because you were with the traffic on the road. But yesterday was a prime example, if you don't mind me just sharing this with you. But I went down my driveway to leave on my bike, and the bushes are about this high on the end of my driveway, so you always have to slow down and kind of look whether you're in a car or on a bike. And I'm up on the pedals looking, because it's Horse Pond Road. You better be careful. And this car comes around the corner, so whatever that is, going northbound or something around that corner, and he's flying. He is just flying. And I was immediately like really irritated, because I'm like, here we go, I haven't even left my driveway, right? And so as I watch the car approaching, I can see that he's not even looking at the road. I see his head down. And so I moved my bike to the end of the curb on my driveway, like I was gonna go out. And it caught his attention right as he was almost to be in my neighbor's driveway. And so as he goes by me, I see his head come up with his phone in his hand, and he goes right by me. I hadn't left my driveway, but I had just become visible, like my neighbor's kid would be if they left their driveway, right? 2 little kids next door. People do this all day long, every day on that street, looking at their phones. I know they do it everywhere, all around town, but it is such a dangerous road. You know, if it's a 30, to be honest with you, like I left my driveway the other day and I was thinking about something I shouldn't have been, and all of a sudden I'm doing 40. And I'm like, geez, here I am, I'm the guy that needs to get a ticket now, right? But I don't think we're talking about 35 or 40s. There's people on our street that are doing 45, 50, whatever. They are hauling the mail and they're looking at their phones. I just think it's an epidemic. And I know it's not just pertaining to Madison. I know it's everywhere, but can't Madison have a real focus, like a real emphasis, like we want to put an end to this distracted driving and this rolling through stop signs? Like, when's the last time you saw someone stop at a stop sign? They just roll through them, right? It just seems like an epidemic. So go for a bike ride with me around town. Yesterday I had kids screaming at me near the high school, trying to distract me as they drove by. Other cars tailing them they're both hauling butt on the road near the school. My driveway incident, it's just driving around town is nuts, and Horse Pond Road is, certainly not an exception. I mean, I just feel like if I sat there with radar, it's gotta be every 3rd car is really pushing the numbers on that street. Nobody's driving 30 down there. I came home today into their driveway And I was doing 35 because this person was on my bumper from the railroad tracks the whole way. I felt like if I slowed down, they're gonna be crazy behind me. It's like, you know, I don't know what else to say or how else to impress you, but I think it's really poor performance townwide. It's scary if you're walking, it's really scary on a bike, it really, really is. And Horse Pond Road is just, it's really a bad place to be doing 45, 50 miles an hour. It's concerning.
Thank you. You've got an audience here that is absolutely on the same wavelength with you. One of the fights we have had with the police commission and arm in arm with the police department is trying to convince the Board of Selectmen and the Board of Finance that just because we haven't had a bank robbery in 2 years does not relate to the expectations of people like yourself. And what we need, and the Board of Selectmen has, says, grudgingly responded. We're adding another officer this year. But it's been, our efforts have been delayed, postponed, and we're finally going to get one other officer. But the most effective thing, and I'm echoing what we hear from the chief and from Captain York, is we need someone sitting in that car that periodically flips on their flashers and says, pull it over. And that not only deters that person, it deters the 15 cars that pass while the stop is going on. And we just have to get to the point where people understand, and we're not there, obviously, that despite the kind of trend we see in all communities with speeding, that if we can get to the point where if you go into Madison, it's kind of a speed trap. It's kind of a, you better not be on your phone because they're there and they pull you over, and they're probably not going to say, don't do it again. You're probably going to get a ticket. And if we end up with that image along the shoreline, we're all happy. I mean, because we all have seen, and I ride a bike, road bike. So I know exactly what you're talking about and how terrified it can be when someone, you know, blows past you going 55. Right. And they're really close to the edge. So, you know, I'm with you on this. Anyway, we hear you.
If I could just add some ideas, maybe. One idea is to lower the speed limit to 25 on our road. Exponentially, if it's 25, maybe they'll go 30, because now it's 30, they're going 40 and 50. So that's one idea. The second is, what could the community do? And I would certainly take a lead in this, in going to the selectmen. I know Al's selectman. And what could we do, Al, as a community? I mean, not to picket or riot or anything like that. But to come up with some ideas that we could share and bring this to the attention. I'm sure you do a good job with your colleague in telling them this, but maybe hearing it from people who live it every day would be more, significant.
Well, I'm a bicyclist too, and so I know exactly.
I used to, but I'm scared.
Yeah, well, how many drivers give us 3 feet?
Right.
Well, isn't it a law?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Look, Bob, the answer to your question is, just like you've come here tonight, these folks have heard you, and the selectmen meet 2 or 3 times a month, and our citizens' comments are very welcome. We're all in this together, we're all a community, and We have had citizens come forward previously to help urge the selectmen to provide more resources to the police department. But for a very specific issue, by all means, write to us or come and speak to us, and that is the most effective way to get your message across. The fact that you took the time and energy to come here tonight is very impressive.
I'm retired now.
I'm sure your students appreciate that.
Well, when we go through the budget cycle, we reach out, because, I'll put his finger on it. It is very influential when elected officials kind of hear 2 or 3 people stand up in a meeting
Yeah.
and articulate their concern in a cogent, effective way. I mean, it is, kind of, this is why we voted for you, to kind of listen to us. And so, anyway, we very much appreciate your comments. We'll, as we go through this, this is, safety and traffic is a regular part of our agenda, and we'll make sure we pay attention to it as things unfold.
In addition to those comments, one of the things that always seems to generate some interest from elected officials is when groups of people come in with a negative opinion of what their job is. So I'm not suggesting you storm any of Al's meetings, because there probably aren't enough seats for all the people who want the speed limits to go down. But if you could collect signatures, if you could collect some neighborhood volunteers to go to the Board of Selectmen meetings, just like you folks are coming here tonight, let your voices be heard, be as vocal and as pleasant and as courteous as you can, but don't stop putting the pressure on folks, either for officers, for radar, for speed enforcement, and continue to express all of your concerns as often as you can. That's the strongest message that we have, because everyone in this room is aware of what the speed limits are and how often they're ignored. I happen to live downtown on the Post Road. Between now and Labor Day, most of the times I will have to turn right out of my driveway instead of turning left and down to the golf course to make a U-turn to go back into town, because the cars are leaving town too fast for myself or my wife to attempt to turn left. So everybody is very much aware of this. So my only suggestion is, please make it a vocal and a public presence like you're doing here tonight. I can't guarantee any results, but they're elected and they won't ignore you.
Right, Chief?
Yeah, Al, this is more for the intention of your board. There's no doubt that there's a lot more traffic now than there is in the last 5 years, absent COVID, or 10 years ago, or even earlier. A lot of the roads, the way they were built and designed, go back to a period of time that we're beyond that now. If you don't believe that, that's why most of the highways are being redesigned and rebuilt, the exits and entrances. I almost think that may be worthy of looking into, from the Board of Selectmen, they do a townwide safety study. And they can start with the bus routes first. Because, I mean, if you think of that road and just think of it redesigned, if you had a blank canvas and you redesign that road, what might you add? You might add different lanes, bike lanes, maybe 2 3-way stops, other things that would help and accomplish that. You can make the speed limit 25. They're still going to have the people occasionally who do 60, maybe beyond that, because that's the cut through to go downtown. Yeah. It's like Warpus Road is, they're coming from the north, they're coming down Opening Hill, all through all those roads. Anything goes north-south or east-west, they have to go from point A to point B, and there's traffic. That's what they do. They use your road. And we have a lot of people. I lightly said, years ago we learned how to drive. A lot of people today learn how to aim the car because of all the other things and distractions in the vehicle. I think it's an educational process. I think the enforcement process is the component, but I do believe that maybe it is time now to start looking at some of the town roads, particularly before we invest in the repaving of the road, that if we're going to do some changes, curbing, things like that, sight lines, this is the opportunity. That would probably be a realistic goal to pursue with the Board of Selectmen and other people in the general meetings. I know that I would love to see that.
So, may I just ask a few questions? Is it the law that a road have a 3-foot area for bikes? if we had a white line going down each side of Horse Pond, that would,
Designating a pedestrian slash bike lane.
yes,
The problem you have is that some parts of that road is too narrow, other parts it does have to.
well, it's good
That goes to
that
the
it's
age
more
of the road.
narrow because it would slow them down.
Well, I've been fighting for those on Route 1 for all the time I've been here, I'm still waiting for one. I'm looking for permanent bike lanes in some town roads
No,
slash
I
state
can't
roads.
understand, because I went to Guilford today to Page Hardware. They have bike lanes.
Yeah, they did that when they did the reconstruction going to downtown with the sidewalks and the whole project. They were able to widen the road.
Yeah,
Butcher Conway did
we
that.
need something done soon
This goes to the
to slow
study.
down the traffic. Sidewalks, I want to know how. I know, I know that people have said you'll never get it, but I would like to pursue it because the road is very dangerous. And what do? Do I go to the Board of Selectmen?
I'll
Where
make the
do I
suggestion,
start?
I'll make the suggestion that we consider a town-wide study. The state of Connecticut provided one, the last study they did on Route 1 for me. That's just Route 1 going out east, from downtown going out east. I'm still waiting on the one from the Guilford line in. And they're doing those enhancements now. That's the lines you speak of, different change in the traffic signals, change in traffic controls, and they also measure volume. That's going on right now. Also up north on Route 79 and Route 80, they're doing the thicker margin lines, the borders to what would be called the shoulder, adjacent to the roadway portion, if we can get people to drive in the roadway portion. So, we're gonna continue the enforcement. I mean, sometimes we get a great response, other times we don't. A little shattered last week when we had a response. We stopped this motorist on your road. They were speeding. They were indignant, angry that we stopped them. I live here, we heard everything. They were unregistered because they didn't pay their last ticket. They had no insurance, it got dropped because they didn't pay the last ticket. Now, this is somebody who lives in this town, her family's been in town for a period of time. Our officers work hard to enforce the laws. We have the backing of this fine board and the citizens. It's just a little disheartening. We're out there doing what we're supposed to do. And that was on your road, getting towards the bottom. And that person actually wrote a 2-page complaint to me, which I promptly dismissed after discussion, because we're on video. The way they describe it was a far cry from what the video showed. But that's what we deal with, and that's, it's part of today in policing in this town, along the state of this country. I will advocate for a study. I think it's long overdue. That road is perfect for that study because of the fact that and I mean construction study, engineering study. That was a challenge. We had the hole in the road when the culvert was sinking in on the curb. But I also heard from your neighbors at 99 and 103 on the same subject last week. There's a new couple that just bought that house. There's an investment. They built another house at Route 1. That guy manufactures speed bumps. He does that stuff. He offered to give them to the town. I said, well, that wouldn't be appropriate there. Somebody got hurt if they hit that. But anyway, so that's what I'll advocate for. It's great when the public steps in and helps us and makes that known. We really think this is good. We really think you should look at this. So I look forward to working with you on that.
Yeah.
And if a new initiative is needed in this area, as the chief is suggesting, our organizational chart says that the Municipal Traffic Authority is probably the body that should bring it up to the selectmen. So
We hear you loud.
I leave it to your good judgment.
Well said. I think the chief sounds like we're gonna put together a recommendation to the Board of Selectmen. So, thank you. Thank you. Chief's report.
Okay. You should have received your handouts.
Right.
Chairman, I apologize, you didn't get yours in time. You had a chance to review it. The other financials that were emailed or delivered to you. We're closing in the final few weeks here. I've met with Stacy and we've gone over the budget. There's been some line item transfers, recommendations for the Board of Selectmen and with the Board of Finance. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. what I always point out, labor's been tough, especially with backfilling officers, and what they've done with that, the unencumbered, meaning the officers that aren't here, but the money was budgeted, that's been line item transfers back over to backfill some of the shortcomings we have in the backfill to regular patrol. So that should bring that to zero. The second part of that is that we have, as of today, they budgeted $35,000. Well, we have this discussion every year on the accounting practice when it comes to special duty. That's construction. If you budget us 35, we charge for the car, the officer, the insurances, all that. And the money comes back and goes to general fund, and then we ask for special appropriation. Well, it's not, we've discussed this many times, that's the way they want to do it. Okay, so we spent another $40,000 on top of that, so 35 plus the 40 make it basically $75,000, and paying officers to do this. As of today, we brought in over $140,000 in income to that line. So when you see us doing a special appropriation to bring that to zero, that'd be the 40. The reality is we brought in $100 grand. So.
Okay.
Any questions? Okay. Jeremy, let's move at training.
Okay, so training, for the month of May, we participated in over 208 hours of training. This training included stress management. We began our annual firearms. We began it in May, and we're completing it this month, where the whole department will run through their firearm qualification. We were able to, Detective Avery LaChance was able to attend a week-long detective school that's put on by the Chief State's Attorney's Office in Connecticut, so that's an excellent training opportunity. And then we just, had our basic Collect NCIC and SWAT training. Two other things I just want to add about the training. The first is they're no longer recruits. They have successfully completed their FTO process, so now they are officially police officers. So that's Officers DeLucia and Officer Sirachi. They did a fantastic job on FTO, so now they are officially certified police officers for the state of Connecticut. So congratulations to them, and once again I just want to reiterate the excellent job our FTOs did in training them, getting up to speed. So that definitely helps us for the summertime. That's 2 officers now that are on the road and everything, helping our staffing numbers. And then the last thing I want to add, just our commitment to training. This month we recertified 9 police officers through the post, so every 3 years we have to recertify our officers. Per state statute, all we have to do is 60 credit hours. The average over the 3-year period for those 9 officers was 121 training credits. So we did nearly double the training requirement. So it just shows, we're trying to send our officers to all the training we can. So it's just one thing I wanted to point out with that. So 9 are certified for another 3 years, and we'll just begin the training process all over again, starting July 1 with that. So that's the training report. Yep.
Could you just review for us just the process and the operational impact in terms of having these 2 additional officers who now have completed their training, now are full-time officers? What shift will they be assigned to, and how does the domino effect work in terms of them going on that shift? Is there any reassignment to other shifts because you now have new officers on that shift? How does all that fit together?
Yeah, so they go towards our staffing levels on our days and evening shift, which is 7 in the morning to midnight. So we want them to get the most experience. Now that they complete the training, we want them to get the exposure on the days and evening shifts, just to get the repetitions and everything. Where on midnights, obviously it's less, so we want them getting exposure, interacting with the town and with the citizens and everything. But also, with them being on the road now, we're able to deploy our specialized motorcycle. We're able to, get our bicycle officers down the road. So it's just a huge benefit now to us on top of the 2 SROs now that now are assigned back to patrol. So it's just, just having those 2 extra bodies is great for us, just to deploy for traffic activities and everything. So
they'll be, how long will they be on the much coveted day shift for the training?
Captain Harkins does the scheduling, but they will rotate, so they'll rotate between day shift and evening shift in between the bidding process, which my memory serves me correct is 58 per the union agreement, 58 days. So they will rotate between the days and evening shifts, just to keep on getting the repetition and the exposure to the different types of calls between the days and evening shifts.
So how will the school resource officers funnel into the mix?
So it's all based on a bidding by seniority process per the union contract.
Yeah.
So based on the SR, school resource officer seniority, they're able to bid on whatever shift they want. But the days and evenings for these two police officers now, I keep on wanting to say recruits, they will supplement the days and
Right.
evening shifts, so we could deploy the motorcycle, the bicycle officers. So it gives us the extra bodies to deploy those assets.
To the school resource officers, because, you know, they're all the more senior people,
Mhm.
not the most senior, but
Mhm.
relative to a lot of the hires. Would they normally bid to stay on days or evenings, or is there any way you can?
Well, I think it's just
pattern?
based on life situation. So one, I give an example, bid for the midnight shift just for childcare purposes. So it's not like, oh yeah, I work days for this. Well, for the summertime, you know, they decided to bid on midnight shift for personal reasons. So it just, you know, it's every individual has a different dynamic. So they're just bidding, you know, what works well for the life-work balance and everything. So.
Good. Thank you.
Yep.
Okay.
Now, Captain, now that it's summertime and we have the bike patrol and the motorcycle down, I had a conversation in the past. Is there a specific time or a protocol for officers to walk downtown and have their physical presence be made more aware of?
Yeah, absolutely. I'm between the motorcycle and our bicycle officers. You know, the main priority is going to be the center of town, south of Route 1. But also, you know, we encourage all of our officers, even if they are the patrol car in there, to get out and interact with the citizens in the community. So it's not just for the bicycle or the motorcycle officer to be interacting. It's everyone's responsibility.
Rather than just encourage them, which is good, is there a way to suggest at roll call that they actually do it?
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Thank you.
Okay.
Jeremy, let's talk about the traffic.
So in traffic, Madison responded to 30 motor vehicle accidents. 2 resulted in injuries. 10 accidents involved property damage, and another 10 occurred on private property. Additionally, 3 accidents involved individuals who evaded responsibility, so they fled from the scene. And the primary cause of these accidents were identified as unsafe movements and failure to obey traffic control signals.
So if we look at the traffic stops, page of the number, 248.
There's 2 kids are responsible for Sriracha and Delucia.
Okay,
Majority of them.
I'm looking at, struck by the extraordinary high number of written warnings. Do we find it more effective to provide warnings versus monetary tickets? Is that what I'm looking at? Written warnings versus infractions? And I realize it's the officer's discretion, but
Just factors, mitigating factors. You know, if somebody is, the officer is an observation, speed too fast, you know, it's not a clock on radar. He pulls them over because he saw them going down the road, not a calibrated speed. That's different. He may issue a warning for that. You know, there's core infractions that will increase somebody's insurance. You know, we also know when we stop the car, they've been stopped before. Example was 3 times carrying your phone against your ear and you get stopped, it's $1,500.
say la vie.
It might stop some of these things we're seeing and hearing from people.
Chief, I understand that, but if you look at these numbers, about 85% of the stops are written warnings. That seems, and look at it, I absolutely understand that we're hiring people in their role here based on our prediction of their judgment. So I'm not minimizing that at all. I'm just, you know, as we continually hear the buildup of speeding complaints, and this evening wasn't out of the ordinary. It's just an observation when you look at these numbers, it kind of says, hey.
Well, if you do a comparative analysis, we use the traffic units, okay, which are hitting the main roads for us. Generally, you'll see anywhere from 100 something to 200 some odd tickets, and then you'll see so many warnings, and you'll see, that, of course, that's 6 8-man teams, and you see how many warrants were issued based on, you pick somebody up on the phone line. A lot of these are when somebody calls in, it's a complaint about Warpus Road, or one of those, they're going through a stop sign. Who do you think the majority is during the commuter route or school were stopping? Parents, bringing the kids to school. Now, that's their judgment. They decide that they're going to give a warning. Now, they show up, they get stopped again. The MDT says, this guy was stopped on the 18th of April, stopped on the 19th of May. Guess what? He's getting a ticket.
So based on that, if we were to look at these statistics in August, when the kids aren't in school, then the percentages
Well,
would likely be different.
we end up with a lot of traffic on Route 1. The ramps pick up. Downtown traffic picks up. Of course, Madison connector. This road out here goes to over 6,000 cars in a 24-hour period. So we have you'll see a change, the trend in what are the crimes that occurred during certain times of the year. So when you see somebody not writing a ticket, it doesn't mean they're not working. It means they're probably answering the alarms, medical calls.
No, I'm not talking about working. They stopped the car. I believe them. They stopped the car.
Okay, well, that's their discretion that was given to them, by statute.
I'm just looking at, as we hear about, you know, some of the, you know, frustration. And look at, I'm sure within the written infractions here, I'm sure there are people who are, you know, hitting the 58, 60 miles an hour on horsepower. It's pretty easy to do that. Matter of fact, if you look at a car going 30 or 35 on horsepower, you're kind of sitting there sometimes going, what's wrong with this guy?
You're taking your life in your hands, yeah.
Yeah. So anyway, it's just, you know, it's, you know, I think it's trying to, you know, respond to, you know, and you've been the champion of this. You know, let me put the sign up that tells you how fast you're going. And, you know, and we've periodically seen the positive impact on that, and people saying, okay, they can't get me for going 48, but I guess I'm going 48 because the sign just blinked 48. But anyway, you know, as we look at these, and as we look at, and again, you know, I know somebody, you know, that written warning can be effective sometimes. At other times, you look at this and say, maybe, you know, maybe they need the, you know, the monetary encouragement to say, you know, you're, you know, 18 miles over, and this is not a good road to be going 18 miles over.
You know, in a perfect world, I would love to see the additional officers we always talk about.
I love it.
In that perfect world, I'd love to have that dedicated traffic unit, 2 or 3 bodies, and that's what they do, is they run radar and they stop cars. And if you look at the towns that do have them, it's very successful, the numbers are very high. And that does curb behaviors. But when you have an officer who's out there trying to, you know, hey, could you patrol Opening Hill, and then they get to a call, there's an alarm, there's a medical, they leave, they come back. You know, that's, when you don't have enough, and you're stretching and trying to do all the possible things that people love to see coming out of local police department. when you have minimal numbers, it's difficult at times. Even with a team that's committed, you know, our managers, everybody jumps in.
Just from a timing and logistic point of view, if we have 201 written warnings during the month of May, and we have 40 infractions, how much longer does it take after you've given a driver a written warning to write a ticket? My point being that the summer, there are more people on the road, but there are also more social occasions in town where more people are gathering. And I certainly don't think it would do any harm if more people, when they were getting together for a drink or something social, happened to mention that if they got a ticket or they stopped and they had to pay a fine, and more people heard just about how proactive we were doing.
Well, the other side is that we do hear from people that tell us that was stopped by the officer, I was wrong, they explain it out, even people that receive tickets, and
Right.
that they talk about the stop of the officer, and I hear that quite often this town.
I understand that, I'm just saying, I think a stronger message, just based on what we're hearing, what we all experience driving around town. If you have to take out your wallet for a ticket, it has a little more impact than just an officer saying, in my opinion, please slow down. I just personally think that in relation, and it isn't a trend, but the numbers seem to support them every month. We tend to give out more verbal warnings than we do written tickets. And I'm not suggesting we become a town down south that writes a ticket for every New York plate that goes through Tennessee.
Well, the local policing is more interpersonal to it. You get to know the community, and you will see people from baseball, from other sports, you see them from clubs, service clubs, you'll see